There are different ways that cultures can communicate and learn and understand things from one another. One is how cultures relate with each other through both art and design. Lisbon, Portugal is at the intersection of many cross-cultural influences. These include artworks from India, Japan, China, Morocco, Turkey, and Italy, just to name a few. Many of these influences can be seen throughout Lisbon's museums. The Museum of Ancient Art and the National Tile Museum best demonstrate this idea of combining cultures and how they influence each other. Art and design in Japan were influenced by Portugal when Portuguese explorers were in control of their major port cities during the 16th century, a time when Portugal was at its apex of maritime exploration. During times of cross-cultural developments, art and design tend to go through a process of hybridization, meaning they both adapted to and were influenced by local styles and tradition. Portugal was the first European country to send explorers to Japan, and this effort led to new trade goods and the first westernized knowledge to be brought to Japan by Portuguese navigators. Art was influenced by this new commercial and cultural exchange. Portugal brought new animals, clothes, weapons, and more that influenced art in Japan at the time. The Namban art style emerged during this time. Namban, meaning Southern Barbarians, was the title given to the travelers from Europe, particularly the Portuguese. Namban art typically features Portuguese ships, but in a traditional Japanese style. This style can be seen on screens and other artworks. Ceramic chinaware and other intricately decorated objects that feature European figures in a traditional Chinese fashion are good examples of the cross-cultural relationship between China and Portugal. Examples include blue and white faience, or glazed ceramic ware, most notable during the Qing dynasty of the 18th century, and other intricately decorated objects. These included tea caddies, teapots, teacups, and saucers, and inkwells. Influences from the Italian Renaissance can be seen in the shape and functionality of furniture pieces and made Portuguese with printed, patterned, and embellished motifs. Lasting from 1530 to 1580, the Renaissance in Portugal had an obvious link to comfort and status in the pieces developed during this period. Traditional themes were inspired by antiquity or Roman styles. Later on, under the influence from Italy, the Baroque style took its turn in helping shape Portuguese design. From 1680 to 1780, Portuguese designers took advantage of international design trends of the time and used their access to precious woods supplied by forests in Brazil for production. Middle Eastern influences came from areas like Morocco and Turkey. Hispano-Moorish faience or goldenware were of particular importance to Portuguese culture, as well as others that link back to the Moorish occupation in Portugal. For instance, the 17th century bedroom still displays connections to the Moors. Signs of Moorish occupation are evident in Sintra, where the Moors built a castle during the 8th century. Iznik tiles from Turkey introduced ceramic tiles to Portugal from an early point in time. This influence, though largely coming from Spain, has had one of the most notable impacts on Portuguese culture and design, given that tiles are quite pervasive in the architecture of Portugal today. The relationship between India and Portugal during the 16th and early 17th centuries was unlike any with other European countries. Portugal was one of the earliest European countries to interpret Indian and Oriental designs in the art world as part of a national art. The late 16th century brought many exported goods from Mughal India to Europe, but particularly to Portugal. Marquetry wood inlay furniture was a common export. They featured patterns and motifs symbolic to Indian culture, as well as patterns drawn from the Italian Renaissance and other European trends at the time. Popular furniture pieces included wardrobes, chairs, tables, and chests. Furniture and other objects that served a utilitarian purpose tend to degrade over time and sometimes disappear when they can't serve their originally intended purpose. Furniture survival is influenced by symbolic value, appearance, and who created them. This can be said for all objects associated with art and design that have a cross-cultural influence. It's important to note the vast variety of designed objects and artwork that are still around today. This adds emphasis to the idea that cultures are connected through art and design, and that this form of communication is cherished by the cultures who intend to preserve them.